It's the roll up, it's the vibes. Another beautiful day in the Sunshine State, and I'm kicking it with my man CJ and also Earl Everett. How y'all feeling today?
Doing good, man. Can't complain.
CJ, how you doing? You good, my dude?
Yeah, feeling real good. It's Championship Sunday. Get to kick it with fellow Gator legend and national champion right before we get into some good football this Sunday. So all is well on my end.
Already, man. Yeah, the streets been waiting on this one, and I know it's been a little while. We've been having some technical issues and all of that, but we were able to figure it out today on this beautiful Sunday. I'm excited to kick it with a Gator legend like my man CJ just said. Let's talk about your early football years. What was your introduction to football like?
My introduction to football was first time was really in middle school. You know, it's crazy. I was a kid growing up with epilepsy. And get to seventh grade. Our middle school. Some schools. You hear. They start early at sixth grade, but our school starts at seventh grade. So seventh grade, going being one of the best athletes in the school. You go to tryouts and you're looking for your name on the little sheet. That, the next day, the next couple of days, you're looking for your name. And so, anyways, I go to tryouts, end up making the team, and go home and I tell my grandmother, "Hey, I made the football team," and she was like, "You did what?" I said, "I made the football team." But, she told me that I couldn't try out because, I never got cleared to play contact sports. And, taking trips to Shands Hospital once a month, we talked to the doctors up there about playing. They were like, "No, don't want you to take a shot to the head." And, the seizures end up progressing, worse than what they were.
Right.
But, thanks to my middle school coach, he had a long talk with my grandmother and she allowed me to play. So, he was a
How
big.
was that process like though, Earl? I guess to get going through that and kind of get cleared and get clearance from the doctor stuff. Say, yeah, okay, I think you would be good enough to play and proceed with a career, well, not necessarily a career at that point in time, just playing a contact sport.
Yeah, the process was, as a kid, being that young, not quite understanding why, when you're playing out in the yard every day with your brothers and cousins and, you're just fine. And then all of a sudden, the doctors are saying, okay, you can't do this or you can't do that. I just, at that age, I didn't really quite understand because, like I said, I was just in seventh grade, and, I my family always treated me like I was a normal child. They didn't treat me like I had a disability or I was different from any of the others. So that was I think that was probably one of the biggest reasons why I didn't quite understand why the doctors were saying this, because my family never treated me any other kind of way.
Right.
Right. So you get to high school, and you're pretty highly coveted, parade All American. What was that introduction to high school football and the rise up in the rankings with and the attention of recruiters and all of the schools starting to want you a little bit? What was that process like?
It was an eye opener. At the time when I came in the ninth grade, you know, a lot of guys before me were going down to like University of South Florida, which was an up and coming program, but I'm saying that to say is like not many people before me were going to like Florida State, Florida, Georgia, the Power Five schools. So, I've always been a humble, growing up being a humble kid. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to South Florida because that's where all the guys before me are, were going. But going through that process and seeing, different Power Five coaches come by and talk to me, and man, it was like a dream come true because, as a kid, everybody's got a school that they eventually want to go to. You know what I mean? That they dream about playing at and all that type of stuff. But I
Which school was that for you? What
Hey,
was your
man,
dream school?
it got to be Florida, right? Got to be.
definitely Florida.
Yes, I know, especially right down in that area.
Yeah, I talked about earlier, being a kid with epilepsy and going to Shands Hospital once a month with my grandmother. You know, those early days were when I became, you know, a Gator fan. You know, going up there and just, you know, I would always see the games playing on the TV.
Right.
You know, and you know, starting to see guys like Emmett and all those guys at a younger age. It just, you know, I was always up there, like I said, once a month. But you know, was probably second on my list. You know, so it was kind of a toss between the two there for a minute.
Right.
You know, but
Who was the recruit at Miami at that time? I know we had Zook and Charlie Strong was the defensive guy. Who was Miami's recruit at that time? I can't remember.
Miami recruit, it was Don Solinger.
Okay.
He's the running back coach. And Vernon Hargraves were the two guys that were coming, you know, consistently coming by to see me at the high school. And it's funny, Don Solinger wanted me to play running back.
Oh, word.
Yes, because, you know, I was pretty much an athlete coming out of high school. I didn't just play linebacker all 4 years. I played, you know, quarterback, played a little receiver, played multiple positions. But he wanted me to play running back. He said I reminded him of Edgerrin James in his younger days. And but he said at the end of the day, you know, Coach Coker wanted me to play linebacker. So,
Right.
you know,
Earl, you kind of touched on a little bit, like you being from South Sumter High School. As you know, it's a real small area. It's a real small school. Not a lot of notoriety as the bigger schools. You kind of touched on it being like one of the first big recruits to get recruited. You know, at that point in time, South Florida, which was a smaller school, but it was like an hour or so down the road in Tampa, were recruiting, you know, kids from South Sumter. But there's been a lot of talented players prior to you, you know, that deserve that type of recognition. So just talk how being one of the first big time recruits to come from South Sumter, how was that for you? And just being from the community in general.
Right. It was a great feeling because, you know, as a kid, everybody got somebody that they look up to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, before me, there was a guy named Clinton Hart. Didn't play any college, you know, football at all, but went and played in the NFL and worked his way up the ladder, you know, arena football and, you know, worked his way up the ladder. So, you know, watching guys like that kind of motivated me, you know, because, you know, I always want to be that guy that, you know, that younger people had to look up to, you know. So being someone that probably one of the most, you know, sought after guys coming through South Sumter, you know, it you know, it always brings a smile to my face that I was part of some of the other guys that kind of paved the way for guys behind me, you know.
Did you take all 5 visits?
No, I went to Florida, of course. Went to Miami. Went to Nebraska because they were recruiting me as a quarterback.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I went on an unofficial visit to FSU, but I was supposed to go to Tennessee, but I never, you know, I hadn't already made up my mind by then, so that, you know, there was really no use in wasting their time and wasting my time, you know.
So you made up your mind, and people talk about the recruiters in regards to the head coaches. I mean, I know me and Sid were just having a conversation in regards to that. So let's talk about your recruitment to Florida and what did Zook do to sell you on you. If I know it wasn't probably that hard, you know, coming up and whatnot, but just everyone talk about the recruiting prowesses of Ron Zook. Just talk about that and what did he do for you in your recruitment.
You know, Ron Zook's he's a heck of a recruiter, man. You know, he comes in and you know, he makes your parents feel comfortable. You know, he's a people's person. You know, they could relate to him, and you know, you also had Charlie Strong right there. That's, you know, just as good as a recruiter, in my opinion, as Zook. And you know, you could relate to him. You know what I mean? Like I say, he come in your house and your parents, and they feel comfortable talking to him. They built a great relationship with those guys, and so that played a, you know, big role in me making the decision to go there. felt like I had an opportunity, of course, to play early, versus going to, Miami was loaded with Jonathan Vilma and DJ Williams at the time. So all those, you take all those things into consideration, when making the decision, to go into certain schools. Bobby Bowden came and watched me play basketball. Came to a district basketball game, and even though FSU wasn't the top school on my list, that played a big part. I had a lot of respect for Bobby for that. He didn't have to come down and watch me play basketball, but being the guy that was a legend like he was, for him to come down and do that, I took it in consideration.
Right.
So that means a lot to a high school kid when a head coach is coming down and, showing that much interest.
Now you get right on campus, and you talked about the ability to play early, and you did play early. You started 6 games as a freshman. What was your welcome to college football moment in practice or in the game?
I would say first game we're playing against FAMU, and I'm running down on kickoff. And, as soon as the ball's kicked, the whole stadium goes, ooh, and I'm running down, and there's so many things running through my head, and the returner wasn't one of them. My mom, I know my mom's in the stand. My mom is up in the stands. All these people are screaming, and then I get ear holed.
Welcome to college, right?
Right.
Hey, that kickoff used to be a different beast, man.
Oh yeah,
have your head on a swivel, baby.
Yeah.
I get ear holed the first kickoff, and I get up and run to the sideline, and special teams coach is cheering me out for running out of my lane. I got knocked out of my lane. Second kickoff come around, I do the same thing, but the same kid looped around the other side, ear holding, bam, get cursed out again. You know how it goes. So this third time, the heck with everybody else. I'm finding this kid that just ear hold me. Right. I'm willing to get chewed out this third time because you just embarrassed me in front of my mama, and in front of 90 plus. So, I had to get my payback on that. But that was probably the, welcome to college football moment for me.
No doubt. What was practice like with Zook? I know Zook was a player's coach, and the team loved him. They hated to see him go. But what was practice and competition like with him?
Practice was always intense. We had a group of older guys, in my opinion, that really led by example. Guys that, they demanded greatness out of you. You know what I mean? They didn't take it easy on you. They had to chew you out to make sure you did the right things. And, like a guy like Channing Crowder was a guy that I learned a lot from, my freshman year. Daryl Dixon, Jarvis Herring, all those guys would take you under their wings. And, they were really like big brothers, tough love. Like I said, they would chew you out if you messed up. But, it was all for, a greater purpose, to get you, on track.
You brought up Crowder. You gotta give me a Crowder story, man. Practice in Midtown, out hanging out. What was Channing Crowder like as a teammate?
Channing was a great teammate. Like I said, he was one of those guys that held everybody accountable. So you had to respect him, because of that, whether you liked him or not. Like I said, he was a guy that taught me a lot. So, I give him a lot of credit, and I always will. But Channing was a guy that, Channing. Channing was, he was a party animal. Channing would go out, and we would have stadiums at 5:30 in the morning, and Channing wouldn't come home and go to sleep because if he knew if he went back to the dorm, he wouldn't wake up.
Go from the club to the workout. That's crazy.
To the workouts, but this is the thing: he would beat everybody in stadiums. He'd be the first one finished. But you knew it was coming out of his pores though throughout the whole.
Right. He was
No doubt.
feeling. I played with a guy like that who go all night, party, this, that, and other, and then we have like morning workouts, and it don't affect them at all. First one in the line, getting everybody hyped to go.
Yep.
This some guys are just wired different.
Yeah, exactly. They're just wired different, man. You know, he was a machine. You know, you don't find many that's built like that.
And you kind of touched on your first game playing in the swamp, 90,000. Just talk about playing in that type of atmosphere. One of the toughest stadiums to play in college football, one of the more storied stadiums in college football. Let's talk about playing in the swamp, and what was your the game that kind of stands out to you as one of the loudest games you played in.
All stadium to play in, man. Like I say, growing up as a kid, it's a dream come true. To play in your favorite school, to play in that stadium. The fans, when the game is rolling, those fans, man, it's like, they're right there on top of you. And, one of the best games and loudest games I could say was probably my freshman year. And I'm sure you remember we lose at the end of the game, that Hail Mary to PK Sam.
Oh, I love it, right?
Okay. So, during that game, as a freshman, there was times during the game that I couldn't hear what Crowder was screaming to me. And he's right beside me. And he's screaming, he's making checks, and I'm like, what? I can't hear him because it's so loud, So, of course, when both teams are, have winning seasons, that game is crazy.
Oh yeah, that game at the end of the season, most definitely.
Yeah, that game is crazy. So that was probably one of the loudest games, I've ever played, and was definitely that year there, because that was a close game. Like I said, right there to the end, they threw that Hail Mary, and but it's definitely loud.
But y'all got to that following year, y'all got to carry my man Ron Zook off into the sunset at Ron Zook Field in Tallahassee. Man, what was it like that game like, and that experience, and also the transition from Zook to Urban Meyer?
Yeah, how was that for you guys as players? Because a lot of people say Ron was a player's coach. Talk about that game, of course. Just talk about the transition, how you feel about Ron Zook being fired, and then segue into Urban Meyer.
Yeah, hearing all the rumors, and that it was going to be Ron Zook's last year, and kind of got confirmed, and so me personally, as a guy that Ron Zook brought me in, I want to send this guy out on a good note. You know what I mean? It was to the point that after the season, I was willing to go wherever he was going. That's just how the way
I go to Illinois, bro.
Yeah.
That's nasty work.
Right.
Keep your orange and blue though.
Hour and a half up the road, good weather to, not coming home, 12, 15 hours and it's snowing.
Right. Just not knowing who the new guy was, the new guy that was coming in and what he was going to bring to the table.
Right.
There was a couple guys in my class, I can honestly say that, me, Joe Corn, one of a good friends of mine, he's actually my son's godfather. So, me and him have always been pretty close, but we were definitely two of the guys that were, it was heavy on our minds, So he goes out, and then, Urban Meyer comes in, and, Urban's more of a disciplinarian, which is, I think was something that we needed. We needed a change. We needed more structure. And he definitely brought that to the table. But, that player's coach, it kind of went out the window when Herb came. Herb, you either do this or you go on ahead and go to the house or go somewhere else. But like I said, that's something that we needed, and obviously, it showed, man. He completely turned the program around.
How was that transition like for a first-year head coach with a new team, and then we have a previous regime where you guys where you're used to something going a certain way, then a new coach comes in and change things completely? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of friction back and forth with some players and just kind of a give and take type of deal. So how was that for you guys, just transitioning from that type of situation to a new coach and a new sheriff in town with a brand new outlook on things in regards to the program?
Definitely, man. You know, before guys really started to buy in, you know, you get a new coach come in that's headstrong like Herb, and you know, it's my way or the highway. And like you say, you got guys that's used to things going a certain way. You know, a lot of guys didn't like it. A lot of guys wanted to leave. A lot of guys did leave. You know, because you know, Herb came in with the mindset that I can't wait to get you guys out of here. I'm ready to get my own.
Yeah, that's how the new coaches are, though.
That's how
Yeah,
new coaches is, man.
So, you know, the first meeting that we had with him when he came in, you know, Herb said, "Guys, I know you didn't ask for me, but I didn't ask for y'all either." You know, so you're like, "Oh, okay, I don't know how this is gonna roll over," you know.
Right.
But you know, Charlie Strong was a guy that was still there. You
Yeah,
know,
he got held over.
he got held over, and you know, he used to always tell us to just trust the process. You know.
I think Channing Crowder was one of the guys that was loud at that time on the transition, and he ended up declaring to go pro. I can't remember if he even gave Urban a shot or not. But what was the vibe? Was Charlie talking to you guys at that time about the decisions y'all was making?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, you know, he was just definitely just telling us to trust the process. That you know, half of you guys are starters, so you know, there's really no need to really go anywhere. There's not many new guys coming in until the next recruiting class, you know. So, you know, he was definitely going to fight for you know a lot of us, and you know, but we had to take care of things on our end. Yeah.
Right.
So, and we had to just continue to do what we were doing best, and that was working hard and showing that we deserved to be in the spots that we were in, and everything was going to take care of itself, you know, and it did, you know. So, like I said, we trusted him, you know, for me, you know, like I said, he was one of the guys that recruited me, him and Zook, you know, heavy. So, I trusted Strong, and you know, if it wasn't for him being there, like I said, you know, I don't know if I would have stayed.
Right. Yeah, you guys are heading into that '06 season, Urban second year. And then the first year I thought was to me, because there was a lot of rumors or a lot of like Gator fans, we weren't feeling the hire at the time. Like hindsight 2020, but nobody believed it could work in the SEC. The spread offense that he was running in Utah, people thought it was, you know, a gimmick offense and it wouldn't be around long.
Right.
So we were all skeptical if it could work. We seen what it looked like with Chris Leak, and then that second year you get a lot of Chris Leak and a little Tim Tebow. But what did you guys think going into that season? What was like the prognosis? Did you guys have a really good camp, good off season? Did you guys know that you can make a national championship run?
Um, I would say, I mean, defensively, we knew we could be pretty darn good, man. You know, you get Joe Cohen that's healthy now, Jarvis Moss, you know, that's healthy now with the Derek Harvey and you know, so we knew we could be pretty darn good. You know, Reggie Nelson is in his second year now with us because you know he went JUCO for 2 years and then came.
Right.
Um, so we knew we could be pretty special. And you know, everybody's goal at the end of the, you know, you want to win a championship, but
When did you guys know it though? Like
Right.
it's a goal, but at a certain point in time, you guys like, okay, like we can
We
really
gotta
do it.
stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can really do it.
I think for me, I think probably around like mid-season was really when it really kind of hit home. You know what I mean? Mid-season, now I'm like, okay, we can be pretty darn good. I think we can. I think we really got a chance, and I think winning the SEC championship really put the icing on the cake. You know, because you know, Arkansas, you know, they got McFadden and other man
Felix Jones.
Right.
Jones over 1,000 yards, high-powered offense. You know, they had it all. You know, but like I say, winning that really put the icing on the cake for me. You know, I knew we had the team, and I was confident, but you know, whooping up on them pretty good. I was like, oh, it's a wrap. You know, I don't care who we're playing. it's when we're hitting on all cylinders, anybody gonna be in trouble.
Did you guys play a little bit more freely with Reggie Nelson being on your back end, Pauls? Like, what was you guys? Because I mean, that's probably my favorite safety as a Gator. But I felt like he was the eraser, and he was given that nickname. A lot of things that went over you guys' head, he was able to make up a lot of mistakes. But what was Charlie Strong's strategy, and what would you guys feel like with Reggie Nelson on the back end?
Oh yeah, definitely. Reggie was definitely somebody that could, cover a lot of ground and make up for a lot of mistakes, especially with his speed, being able to just roam back there. So, we would run a lot of fire zones, man, and when you can get pressure, it makes the DB's job a lot easier. And and going back to with like Jarvis Moss and Derek Harvey and those guys, I kind of think they made the DB's job easier, and at the same time DBs made their job easier.
Right.
So it kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, there was quite a few times when even from backers, we would be in coverage every once in a while, and a guy end up slipping up, running by a faster kid, and we knew we had Reggie over top. So we always trusted in him, certain situations where we knew, we had help, that we can play a little more freely than what we usually would be able to.
Right. So you guys win the SEC championship, but there still wasn't, if I can recall, there still wasn't like a hand in. We were still kind of waiting around to find out who was going to play in the national championship. Where were you when you got that call, when you find out that you guys are going to be playing Ohio State for all the marbles?
Believe it or not, I think we found out at halftime.
Word. Okay.
UCLA beat USC, I believe it was. And so halftime of that game, that's when we found out that we were going. We had to win ours, and then UCLA had to beat USC, and UCLA ended up winning. So halftime, we were up, jumping up and down in the locker. They didn't want to tell us.
Yeah. I was like, that's a tough situation. I was going to ask you, how did the coaches kind of present that? And as a player, does you get a little relief, like, oh shit, and you start to lose focus. But then on the flip end, okay, we really in it, so we got to lock in a little bit further, to win this game, so we can play for that national championship. Like, how was that? Because that is something to think about, and how you can really present it, and how you can balance it, especially at halftime. You got to get it. You got to focus on yourself.
Especially with master psychologist Urban Meyer, like how he present and handle that.
Well, I don't even think, like, Herb didn't even tell us. Like, Herb kind of, like, he knew, but he wasn't the one that, somebody ended up leaking it out. But I know it wasn't Herb, because he wasn't going to tell us at all. He wanted us to stay focused and, finish out the game. But somebody ended up leaking it out. And because I remember at halftime, we got to go ahead and close this out, and we're in. You know what I mean? But like I said, I can't remember who leaked it out. But we had enough leaders with Ray McDonald and all those guys defensively that, we kind of knew that as long as we stayed the course and continued to play our butts off, we were going to be all right.
Okay. So you guys are getting ready to go to the national championship. You're playing Ohio State, who was favored in that game. We already know what happened now, but going into that game, what would you guys feel like?
Bro, I thought the opening kickoff, I was happy as hell.
Yeah, Ted Ginn took it to the crib.
Yeah. I can honestly say all year long we had played our A game, and I'm saying up front and secondary, all hitting on all cylinders at the same time. And our defensive coordinator, Greg Madison, him and Charlie were co-DCs. He told us before the game, he said, guys, if we play our A game and we're hitting on all cylinders, he said, I promise you it won't even be close. He said, they've played a bunch of tough, a couple of tough teams, but they haven't played anybody with speed like our front, and it was true, man.
It was evident. Yeah, it was evident.
Second quarter, they called a TV timeout. For some reason, we stayed on the field. We didn't go to the numbers. And one of the offensive linemen was like, dude, you guys are fast. I mean, see it in his face, you know what I mean? And like I said, with those guys,
it's a lot different than playing the Wisconsin boys. And
Exactly. it's a different ball game, man. When you had those guys that we had up front.
You had one of the most iconic moments as far as a Gator when your leg comes off and you tackle Troy Smith. What was that like? When did you realize like your helmet was like, nowadays you can't do that. Nowadays it's a penalty
I think
if you continue to play. Yeah, but what was that like for you, man?
I say this all the time, man. I never realized that my helmet was off until I got right up on him. With adrenaline pumping, trying to get off the field on third down. I remember, I think it was running back Pittman. I remember him grabbing my face mask. But when I, pushed off and, went to chase Troy Smith, I didn't realize it until I got right up on him. Everything got brighter.
Right.
Got right up on him. And by that time, I mean, I'm not stopping now.
I'm here.
I'm here. It's too late, man. We were really out for blood because, we felt disrespected. Everybody said we don't deserve to be on the same field and, all that type of stuff, man. Quick story. So our first night, we didn't have a curfew, right? So we went out to this bar. Can't remember the name, but it just so happened to be the same bar that Ohio State players were at. We go in this bar but we didn't know that. We didn't know it at the time, but we go in and we see these guys had this VIP section like blocked off and they were popping bottles. Hey man, that's the Ohio State guys over there. Yeah, I want to say it was Ray McDonald. And we were
Shout out to Ray, man. Bell Glaze finest, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
great. So, long story short, man, Ray and Steve were like, man, y'all, let's leave. Dude, we just got here. We've only been here about 5 minutes. We're going to let them have it tonight. Because I think it was like a Tuesday night we played. He said, come Tuesday night. He said, that's when we going to open up. You know what I mean? He said, we're going to let them have it tonight. Let them enjoy it, whatever. So we all went back.
I was about to ruin a VIP table. What y'all about to do?
No, we went back.
I was gonna go to the club up on flip everything over.
Our hotel room and
the game before the game.
Yeah.
Bourbon Street, Florida State, Florida.
Yeah.
Tyler were roommates, and we went back to our hotel room, man, and we just started going over our playbook. The next night, our curfew, I believe, was at 12. Probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Everybody was in their room. Most of the defensive guys, I could say, I can't speak for all of them, but most of them I know were in their room going through their playbooks. So it's really a business trip for us because, like I said, we really, really felt disrespected.
Right. So you win the national championship, man. I had more Chris Lee questions. I don't want to keep you here too long, but what was the season like watching Chris Lee lead you guys? He went through a hell of a lot as a quarterback at University of Florida, but seeing him raise a trophy at the end, what was that like for you guys? Watching him as a leader.
It was great, man. A guy that I came in with that, wasted blood, sweat, and tears, on training and watching him develop and grow into the guy he ended up becoming was awesome. Chris could throw a football left-handed just as good as he could and right-handed. He used to do it a couple of times in practice. So, he was always a special guy. Special, quarterback coming in as a young guy, but watching him, grow into like I said, the guy that he became, man, was awesome. Because like you said, he went through a lot, there were times that.
Even that last year, a lot of people were saying,
I didn't give him the credit he deserved to be real.
They booing and all that kind of crazy stuff, man. He caught hell that Auburn game. Because they were saying that he threw the game on purpose.
Right.
All that kind of crazy stuff, man. But seeing him continue to fight, regardless of what was said about him, shows a lot about your leader, and his leadership. And like I said, he never let it get under his skin. If he did, he didn't show it. So seeing a guy like
quarterback
fight, you want to play hard for somebody like that,
And Earl, you kind of said y'all came in together, and we all know Chris was a rock star on the recruiting circuit, right? I only think he lost the game in high school. Independence was that damn good. Like Chris was just that type of guy.
Number 1 guy.
Yeah,
He's number 1 guy coming out that year.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's when Independence was really rocking. It was a powerhouse program. So, how was it like coming in from just all the fanfare that he had and that type of deal, just to come in with a guy like that as the bell cow of the recruiting class?
Oh yeah, it was great. That was also part of my decision to go. You see a guy like that coming in with the hype that he had, and Under Armour All-American and all that stuff, man. In my eyes, I knew, moving forward to when we got there, and we had somebody that I thought that could take us to a national championship, especially in that category. Defensive wise, you can always find guys, but when you got a quarterback like that, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Because I knew he was going to have guys that was going to come to be around him.
Mm-hmm.
You're the number 1 guy. They want to come play with you. They don't want to come play with you when you the 15th or 20th guy. You the number one guy. They want to come play with you.
Right. That carry a little bit of weight.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys win a national championship. Let's talk about Gainesville at that point in time, right? So I know the city was crazy. It's been what, at that point in time, 10 years since the previous national championship, and you guys kind of pretty much started that trajectory where Florida was just rocking all around athletically. Basketball was humming, you guys were humming. So let's talk about Gainesville itself during that time, because I feel like you guys were pretty much rock stars. And we know how small Gainesville is and Tallahassee is. When you're winning and doing those type of things in those 2 cities particularly, like you're living legends. So let's talk about that for a second, how that was for you guys going back to Gainesville.
Going back to Gainesville, man, was the city was crazy. Students were hanging from light poles, crash midtown. It was crazy, man. Most of the bars we went to, they let us in, with no problem. But it's something that nobody can take away from you, because I mean, it's just an awesome feeling. The city was crazy, around about that time. We were like the number 2, 3, somewhere up in there, party in school, college, in the nation, man. So Gainesville was lit. Everybody was coming. Everybody was wanting to come, and it showed the classes that came behind that,
Right.
guys were coming, the Pounceys, the Rain, and all those guys. So, I mean, it brought a whole lot of attention to Gainesville, and it continued to grow for a few years, after that.
For you personally, how does that feel for you to just name, like, okay, we were pretty much the start of that. We named all the guys that kind of came after, things like that, but you guys started that upward trajectory. How does that feel for you just to be the bell cow of that?
Oh, it felt great, man. When you get your name in the record books, man, and that's something that, like I say, they can never take away from you. It just makes you proud. It's something you could tell your kids, your grandkids, down the line, that you was a part of something special that helped bring more special events to, that school. So it's something that I'll cherish forever, and like I say, when my son gets old enough to, understand all that type of stuff, I'm gonna definitely tell him, and hopefully one day he can carry on that legacy and whatever he decided to do in life. So it's amazing for me, and that's something that I'm just humbled and something forever.
I'm trying to remember like all the message board rumors and stuff back then that I want to ask you about now, man. What you guys had beef with, like fraternity? You guys used like scooter races, all that type of stuff. Like, what was your favorite, like, not football moments in the shenanigans that was going on? Before you get into that, what was the beef like with the frat in the football team? What was that about?
It was, oh man, with the whole keg throwing and all that type of stuff, man. It started with me and a kid, Skylar Thornton. He was our running back. A girl invited us to this frat party, right there behind Midtown. And Skylar wanted to invite all the football players. And I'm like, bro, don't do that. We don't already get in trouble so many times this summer.
Yeah.
just a handful, bro. And he invited about 15, 20 dudes, and which whatever it is what it is now, but eventually, they didn't like the fact that a bunch of football players
Y'all came and took over.
Right. You know what I mean? And guys walking all through the house and all that stuff. And so some words were exchanged and you know how it is. It just goes from there. You know what I mean? But I was hoping that it was just, we kept it to a minimum because, like I said, the team had already been in trouble a few times. You got the Ron Zook story going down to the frat house and was going to unleash the team on those guys because they
Hey, Ron, my type of guy. Man. I like that. Ron, my type of guy.
Zook with the shits, man.
Yeah.
Man, you don't find many coaches like that, man.
Yeah.
He was really willing to put his own career on the line for us. You know what I mean?
Real, man. But people don't realize, man, the biggest fraternity on the campus is the football team.
Football team. Yeah.
It is the football team.
When you get to college, they always tell you, you go out, you see the fraternity guys doing their little steps, not to get in the way.
And as a football player, you like, nah, like we ain't moving nowhere. So no, we're not going for that.
The Q's big in Tallahassee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like the Sigmas was kind of big in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Okay. So, it used to be called the Palace.
Yeah.
So we're in the Palace. This is like my freshman year. I'm standing in there and here come the Sigmas. And I'm telling Joe, I say, Joe, but they say you weren't supposed to get in the way of these guys. Well, one of our teammates was walking right through them. Blue, fire, you. Guess what? Just take a wild guess.
Crowder, yeah.
And then Crowder. So in my mind, I'm thinking he finna get beat to sleep. They ain't say nothing to him.
Yeah, they knew what time it was. They knew exactly what time it was because you jump on that one, it's about 10 and 15 that's gonna come out of nowhere.
Yeah. And plus, Crowder had a reputation of wrestling alligators and boars and shit, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. But like I say, man, if I had to do it all over again, I'd go right back, man. Like I said, I enjoyed every bit of it.
So how's coaching now? You the linebacker coach over at Sumter, and you also coaching basketball right now. How's it now with college football's like, what everything in football is now? It's just a totally different world from when you played. But what's it like now being a coach?
When I first started coaching, man, so used to college and, it's like now you got to kind of tone it down a little bit. It's a different world. You're dealing with young kids and, some young sensitive kids. And, there's some kids you can kind of really talk to and really get down on them. And then there's some that you can't because they'll go in the shell. So learning the difference, in that department and, learning how to talk to kids and, you got to learn all that stuff when you get into high school and, because like I said, it's not college, but watching them grow as young men is probably the best thing that I love seeing, because like I said, at the end of the day, they're the future, so, some of these kids, like you're the best father figure they've ever had. So there's a bunch of different roles you have to play. You're coach, but you're your father, your uncle, your big brother. You play all these different. You got to wear all these different hats. When you're dealing with these high school kids, and that's something that I love doing. Like I say, being someone that they could look up to. I didn't have that when I was actually in school. Besides a couple of my coaches, but I feel like I could relate to some of those kids a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And to do it at the school that you played at too, because we talked about a little earlier about, you being one of the first big names. And then after that, heck, we get guys that come to Florida State, like Kendall Smith, linebacker for Sumter County 29, and then Keanu Neal, Clinton Hartsburg, things like that. So for you to be one of the forefront players and to come back to your place where you built everything, where the groundwork was laid for yourself personally, like how was that for you?
It's an awesome feeling, man. I still talk to Kendall here You know, I've always been the type of person, you know, I don't you know, take all the credit. You know what I mean? But you know, I do understand, you know, the position that I've been blessed to be in, you know, and you know, I take pride in it, don't get me wrong, but you know, I also give those guys, like you said, Kendall Smith, Johannes Morgan with the FAU, you know, all these guys are pillars in the community and have helped out and done great things. Ben Moffitt, one of my
Yeah,
best
man.
USF, one of their first All-Americans, you know, so all these guys, I give all of them credit because, you know, it wasn't just me by myself. You know, I had guys that were along with me and guys after me, like I said, that have helped pave the way. And, you know, we're all brothers. You know, they always come back and help South Sumter when they're in town. You know, Johannes is actually helping out now at South Sumter, coaching outside backers, coaching inside. You know, so those guys do a great job as well.
That's what's up, man. What do you think about the state of the program right now? Billy Napier just had his first season. I know there's a lot of questions from the fan base about the defense. Offense put up some good production and was able to do some things and show some promise. But what's your overall feel on the program and also the defense?
The overall feel, I think it's a great feeling, you know, being there, being able to meet a few of the coaches and, you know, seeing that Mike Peterson is back. You know, I think they're headed in the right direction. You know, I think, you know, fan base, you know, they just got to give them time. You know, it's not something that is going to get fixed in the first year, maybe not even the second, but as long as you're seeing progress, in which I think we've seen that, you're seeing it in recruiting. You know, the transfer portal is so crazy now, man, that you know, you know, in a sense, it hurts high school kids. It helps college teams. You know what I mean? But you know, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to it, but I mean, I have seen that they picked up a couple linebackers. They beefed up the offensive line. You know what I mean? So they can play a little bully ball now. You know,
Yeah.
so all those things, man, you can definitely see the growth, and you could definitely see that things are starting to, you know, get better recruiting wise than what it has been in the past. So they're working. You know, whether people are seeing it or not, they're working. You know, nobody wants to lose their job, so of course they're going to do everything in their power to try to convince kids to come and then whatever it takes. So we just got to be patient. You know, I look at the TV sometimes, and trust me, I being a competitor, man, I ain't got no hair, but if I had some, I'd pull it out.
Right.
But I understand the process, you know, from being a former player that, you know, we lost games, you know, my freshman, sophomore, junior, and then all of a sudden my senior year, it clicked. Sometimes it takes a few years, man. You know, you're dealing with young kids, you know, it's not the NFL where, you know.
Yeah. What you think? What you think your NIL reparations will look like these days? Crazy, right?
Crazy, man. Not a big fan of it, man.
What's your opinion of it?
No, I think it makes it, you're turning it into a business. You know what I mean?
I think it's always been a business, not just the players are partaking in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely right. You know, as a kid going into college, you know, that's a pivotal moment when you're supposed to learn a lot about life. You know, college, the school is already paying you to go to school. They're paying for your education. You know what I mean? Do they need something? Yes, but when you get to talking hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars, oh man, I think that's crazy. You know,
Which
I'm not saying they shouldn't get paid, but some of this stuff I've been.
Especially for unproven guys, like we talking about a bunch of high school recruits and things like that. And then, like, but you got your Heisman Trophy candidates and things like that. You deserve what you deserve, but just getting stuff up front without putting in the work—that's the crazy part to me.
Exactly, I definitely agree with you on that, bro.
yeah, for sure. That's the the downside of all of it, kids and some of these people turn into, I need this amount of money before I even show up on campus. And to me, that's a red flag as well, man. You got to bet on yourself a little bit. That you can't just be looking for your big payday out the
If
gate
you're
before
looking
you
for your
even
big payday in college, and I think you're approaching the wrong way to begin with, because that big payday is what you do in college, right? So I feel like, it's just an approach about it. But once you throw money in and kind of not put parameters and rules around it, this is the type of result you get.
West.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, Earl, I want you to get everybody gonna get today Sunday, man. I appreciate you for hanging out with us.
Earl, I got one more thing, girl. I think
go.
y'all got a 2025 linebacker that's pretty that's pretty
you
big
know what to
time,
send
right?
him, Earl. You know what to send him,
bring him up to Tallahassee, man. I got something for you, man. Let's come talk to me.
I got you.
Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure though, for sure, man.
Thanks for hanging out.
You guys enjoy your Sunday.
Likewise.
All right.
We appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. It's the Rollup, it's the vibes. Like and subscribe before y'all get out of here. Me and CJ gonna be dropping some logo talks this week. Can't speak for Larry Young, but we're gonna see if we can get him to pull up as well to drop something for the Kane fans. Y'all tune in. Hey Charlie, we appreciate that super chat, my dude. Friend of the show. Friend of the team. Gotta get you back in the group chat, my boy. Yeah. Hey man, like, subscribe. Y'all enjoy y'all Sunday. Touch some grass, touch some ass. Hang out a little bit. Don't be on Twitter all day.
We got more of these videos coming soon.
Already.